And action.
The Star Wars reported. Sorry?
The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Got it. Or you are watching.
Yeah. Action. The Star Wars Reporter podcast.
Right. The Star Wars Reporter podcast you are watching. Where's my $50?
And this is the Star Wars Reporter podcast, the official podcast of StarWarsReporter.com. I am one of your hosts, Wookie Steve, and I'm here with the ever lovely Trooper Todd.
Hey, thanks for inviting me onto the podcast again, Steve.
Episode 103, our second podcast since the break in the new year. And we got a couple things that we're going to be talking about. Number one is what I'm most excited about is the Mandalorian Season 3. And we got a pretty cool trailer that they just released that we will go over today. And probably, I was going to say if we have time, but we'll probably get around to the Bad Batch Episode 4, which was a fun episode. Everyone keeps saying online, it's fun, and it is fun. And I guess maybe some people might say it's a filler, but it was kind of fun. It reminded me of certain different things, and we'll get to that later. But yeah. But
for a big trailer, like we had a teaser before, now we have a trailer, a little more in depth. It had similar footage from the teaser, but show a lot more glimpses of the what to expect this season, and get your brain thinking like, what?
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was going to be big with some of the first glimpses we got, but there's so much more. And yeah, this is going to be the season. So many, I think I was dropping like theories in the Facebook chat to everyone.
You were dropping lots of theories, crazy outlandish theories. But
yeah, so what we can do is let's get to the trailer. Let me
boot that up there. Of course, this will be taking place right after the Book of Fett series, obviously, because Mando is helping Boba Fett lock down Tatooine there.
Yes.
Okay, so his little buddy
here's the trailer. Grogu, his little son. So we'll watch the trailer, then we'll go back and we'll discuss it.
Our people are scattered like stars in the galaxy. What are we? What do we stand for? Being a Mandalorian is not just learning about how to fight. You also have to know how to navigate the galaxy. That way, you'll never be lost. I'm going to Mandalore so that I may be forgiven for my transgressions.
May the Force be with you!
This is the way.
There's something dangerous happening out there. And by the time it becomes big enough for you to act, it'll be too late.
Hang on, kid.
Yeah.
It's cool.
This is the way.
March 1st.
Stars in the...
Month and a half,
awesome.
Steve. A month and a half.
Month and a half. That's coming up quick. So much in this trailer, so much action. And I'll just say it's going to be kind of a nice change from Andor, as much as that Andor was great in itself. I need this. I need some Mandalorian mayhem and violence and and things like that. So, and of course, there's people that need Baby Yoda or Grogu and all this kind of stuff. But it's kind of this right here is what feels like, our generation, the old school Star Wars, and it's fun. It's not too serious. I mean, obviously, it's not too serious. They brought back Grogu, so. Which is
Right.
so weird. And there's so many people that are watching this trailer that are like, what's Grogu doing here? Because some people didn't watch.
Or they didn't watch Book
Boba
of Fett.
Fett.
Right. If they didn't watch Book of Fett, they would have no clue that Mando went and got him from Luke, and Grogu had to make a choice. Do I stay here and train with Luke Skywalker, or do I go and be a Mandalorian? And he chose to go be a Mandalorian.
So like some of the parts here, like we've seen this before with all the Mandos, and it's really cool. It kind of seems like, to me, it kind of seems like what we hear Mando saying is kind of a speech he might be giving to these guys, like all the different like the Mandalorian sects or groups and stuff are meeting to try to take back Mandalore or figure out what's going on with Mandalore, which is what we see in that one spot, that destroyed city. That's Mandalore, because it's when the Empire bombarded all of Mandalore. And so you have over here, you have the Night Owls, and like with what's her name? Jeez, Bo-Katan, her group and stuff. And it's just cool when he's kind of coming out like this, like he's going to be coming out and doing a speech and stuff. So.
He's kind of leading. It looks like he's leading the pack, sort of thing, right? So,
yeah, he's kind of
So there's a ship, Steve, near like the 3/4 mark that's fighting the TIE fighters. There's a TIE fighter chasing a ship.
Yes, that is.
Could that doesn't that look like the ship from Andor? What's his face? The guy who recruited Andor.
Yeah, and I had a note for it. Oh, geez, I don't have those notes with me. Yeah, I think it's it might be that ship, or I forget what it is. Let me get a better look at it.
Like even the shot, the shot before this robot, there's like a cockpit shot. It was very similar to the shot in the Andor series where you see the front. It's from the perspective of the cockpit. Like, see what I'm saying? Like, it looks very similar to it, doesn't it?
Hang on, kid.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's even before this is a shot where it shows from the cockpit view looking through the front end, the bow of the ship, and so see what I'm saying? Like it has that kind of like the split in the middle sort of thing, or it looks like an old Jedi. No, because Jedi was a triangle, right? It didn't have an opening in the front.
I had the name of the ship, and I think it's it's like a.
Just go back a little bit more, Steve. Go back a little bit more. In the bar. Go back. Try right from there. Try right from there.
Right here.
Yeah. Just play it from there.
Enough for you to
See if we can find it. I'm always happy to see Kim Kabin's guy back.
Right there.
It's not there either. Right. It's obviously before that, so it doesn't matter. So, but there's also Jedis. Where the Jedis come from? You had a theory about the Jedis, didn't you?
What's that? Yeah, these things here. Someone had said online, like, "Oh, I wonder who's coming through the door." That's obviously Anakin and the 501st, the troopers that were helping him kill all the Jedi in the temple.
It's a flashback,
cutting through, and I think it's his flashback.
Oh, yes.
Grogu's behind them. They're protecting him.
Oh, because that's how low the camera's perspective of his eyesight. Okay, yes.
See the glowing lightsabers?
Yes.
And so we have to definitely find out the rest of the story about what happened to him and who found him. But there's something else interesting, and I sent a video to you to all you guys in the chat with a theory. Actually, it was from Star Wars Theory, where let me share. I'm going to share this with you. This right here, he had a theory about that, And it really makes sense. Let me share this other one here. Of who these people are. So, Obi-Wan. So this is when, in Revenge of the Sith, when Obi-Wan goes to look at the holovids of what Anakin did in the temple. Now look at these people here that he's fighting. So his theory, and he pointed out, these three that he's killing, it's like he's killing these people here, these Jedi. And it's funny, he pointed out too, the girl he's got in a force choke while he's fighting with one hand the other guy. And apparently this guy here, he's the head lightsaber trainer in the temple, and Anakin is taking him on with one hand while force choking this other Jedi and holding her and force choking her.
Who got this information? What? He's the head of the lightsaber division. What? Come on.
There's all these different stories, right? When it comes out, like I always say I'm kind of like the casual fan, huge fan, but I haven't really gone into so much of it. But yeah, I guess it's pretty wild. So that
people are making up backstories of characters or just have a little cameo.
Yeah.
Unless it's from the mouth of George Lucas, I call balderdash.
Well, I think it's coming from like all approved stuff from Lucas back then, right? Before,
right.
Before the big sale. But hang on, let me get back to the. So I just thought that was a very cool theory. So, but these Jedi, it's as soon as I saw that in the trailer, I thought, whoa, okay, this is wild. There's not just going to be Mandos.
But wouldn't that be cool if it was? For some reason, I think it's clone troopers. The way the sparks are on the door, sort of thing.
Right.
You could think the lightsaber wouldn't go up the seam; it would make a cut through the sort of thing. But how cool would it be if Anakin popped out the door and we had a little Anakin lightsaber fight? That'd be pretty sweet.
Get their money's worth from him, right? Like, going from Obi-Wan to here, he probably filmed the whole thing all at once.
Yeah, absolutely. Why not, right?
Because there wasn't a lot of of him or Darth Vader.
No,
in Obi-Wan, it was just that one training scene, right? So he's probably already done up like Anakin. Change a wig, there he goes. He's in the next scene with Favreau.
Yeah, that would be pretty sweet if that's the case. But obviously, I think you're right, Steve. That you're saying of that a viewpoint of Grogu when the Order 66 came down. I can buy that theory for sure.
Yeah. So, and again, I just love all the scenes, right? He's back on the planet, this right here. I posted a picture of this, and I was thinking to myself, isn't it weird seeing one of these aliens without a HUD attached to it?
It's always weird to see him. I remember the first season we saw one being cooked. That was kind of fun. But it's weird seeing them in a nature environment, not attached to Jabba's little palace sort of thing, for sure. But I love the laugh. I always seen that. It's just always fun to hear that little sound, right? So
yeah, I know. And there's Grief, and Carl Weathers is one of the directors of,
is he really?
of the show. Yeah, of the season. Bryce Dallas Howard has come back, and there's a list actually that they posted that I reposted on our social media of the 6 directors that are going to be. And I think this season is going to be 8 episodes. That's it.
Wasn't that what it's been every year?
I thought we had 10 and stuff. Maybe we haven't. I think maybe first season was like 6 or something.
I think 8's been. I think it's been 8. I'm pretty sure last year was 8. Season 2 is 8. I think season 1 was 8 because most of the series have been at least 8 episodes, right? Except for well, I think Kenobi was 6. Was Kenobi 6 or was it 8?
Kenobi was 6.
Yeah, and Andor we had the lucky 13, right?
Yes.
Or 12.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, so well, there's lots to unpack here. Like there's like there's obviously the new ship, the different ship, which I don't know is. I'm intrigued with that. Again, I see TIE fighters. I'm always excited about seeing TIE fighters.
Yeah, I mean they're back on. This is a scene from Coruscant,
Something
and
dangerous happening out there.
this doctor. Do you recognize him? Remember the clone doctor?
Oh yeah, that's the guy who wanted Grogu's blood.
Yeah, that's him. So he's kind of a different uniform, but is he doing the same kind of job? Cloning. So, and
The time it becomes big enough for you.
And this is the thing someone was pointing out. There is there is Paul Lee from who played Captain Teva, Carson Teva, and he's in this. Who is he talking to? Right? He's like, if we don't do something, blah blah blah. Is he talking to Mothma? Is he talking to someone that suggested is he talking to Luke? Right? Because this is before the First Order. Right?
Sure, it could be anything.
Talking to Leia, because is he talking to Leia? Are they going to pull a Leia in, like an older Leia?
Well, then how's it all going? The question is, how's it all going to come together, too, right? Like, it has to make sense. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah. Apparently, Favreau has said that this is all leading into the sequels because it has to. So it's going to lead into the First Order. So in the sequels, the First Order was starting to make their presence known, and the Republic was ignoring it. And Leia kept saying, "We got to do something about this First Order, blah blah blah," and everyone wasn't listening to her. So she left the Republic and started the Resistance because no one was paying attention.
Right.
And then the First Order, they just blast off and they take everyone by surprise, blow up the Republic, etc. We've all been there. We've seen it. But,
absolutely, right?
So unless, the Ahsoka show could come in and do kind of a that was the thing. Carl Weather says on Twitter, got everyone freaking out. It's so great to be part of the Star Wars multiverse.
See, well, we know it's a multiverse. It already has crossovers galore, right? We have Clone Wars crossing over with Bad Batch. We have Bad Batch. All the characters are intertwining everywhere, and that's hey. We've been saying this from season 1, didn't we, Steve? The fact that they're doing a Marvel thing, right? It's working for Marvel. Why wouldn't they do the same thing? Especially if do proper storytelling, make effective characters that people are following. Then you can start interspersing them or mixing them up, and you get people going crazy and like excited.
Right. But how cool would that be that if then they multiverse into with the Ahsoka series, and people are hoping, well, some people thought, wouldn't that be funny if they used that whole kind of time portal thing that was in the Star Wars Rebels show?
Yeah.
And then change the timeline so Luke isn't a loser and blah, blah, blah. And they kind of fix the sequels. It's probably not going to happen, but that would be a way for them to do it.
But I could see them building up to a big cinematic trilogy leading up to the sequel trilogy. You know what I'm saying? Like, especially with Ahsoka Thrawn, like Thrawn would be a perfect person to help spearhead the First Order. You know what I'm saying? You build a trilogy of him. Obviously, he'd be the next big leader anyway, wouldn't he? Really? Right? So,
right.
Without Vader and without the Emperor, right? Somebody's had to put the Emperor into being cloned into Snoke, and that, as stupid and ridiculous as that is.
I know the Emperor never died; he lived. So everything in Return of the Jedi meant nothing. Yeah, that little Luke staring at the Force ghosts of Ben and his dad and Yoda didn't mean a thing. They could have said something to him like, "Why are you guys partying? The Emperor's still alive."
Well, but the Emperor was a clone, though. He wasn't the real thing. He was a clone.
Right, but
he wasn't alive. The original isn't alive. It was a clone of a clone of a clone.
You got to find his grandchild and stop her.
Yeah, okay.
Before she takes your last name.
We're not poo-pooing on that, but yes, we know. But again, maybe, again, it just looks like everything's building up to something. You have all this interspersing stuff, and I find it quite exciting. Yeah. Again, always seeing this guy back. I can't remember his name. I don't know. I should remember his name because he's a Canadian icon, and I love to show Kim
Mr. Kim.
convenience. Mr. Kim, he was fantastic. I wish that show was still going, but
Yeah.
nice to see him in the Star Wars universe for sure. And of course, him being part of the 501st, I'm sure he's excited to be able to continue acting in the Star Wars series.
So he's probably happy that he can actually start talking about this now. Like, yep, I'm in this one too. And I'm fascinated by his patch here. The Rancor patch. Is it like his X-wing unit? They're the Rancors and something. I just thought it was very cool.
Well, it's a Rancor patch. I was trying to figure out. I know you were sending stuff out. I didn't realize a Rancor, but it's definitely a Rancor. I see that now.
I think
I have a cat. One of my cats has jumped in my room, and she's going to destroy all my Star Wars stuff. She's going to knock everything. She's up. You gotta see this. I'll try and show you guys. This is entertaining. Here's my cat Maddie. She's very, very, very moody. But she's up on the window ledge and she's knocking over all my Star Wars stuff. Like all my Star Wars stuff on the ledge here. And she's like, that's my window. What are you doing? Put all the Star Wars stuff up there, she says.
Yeah,
you can't get out.
There's probably more like swears coming out of her too.
Well, you can hear her. Listen,
She's
can't hear her.
knock it off.
She's mad because she went. Usually that's how she got out of the house, but now we have new windows and there's a screen on it, and so she's not happy. She can't get out of her window. So, Maddie, you have to go that way. You have to go. I understand you're upset. She's so mad. There she goes.
And that's why we dominate the planet because
Yeah,
they can't figure out how to get through screens. So I mean, it's very cool. It's so cool seeing these TIE fighters.
Hang on.
So I like how they'll make it look like they're
With
chasing
action.
Mando.
And this is my favorite part here.
The droid bar.
Yes.
And you thought they might say a line? Is that your
droid
theory? They're
bar.
going to say a line?
I hope that the droid behind the counter says to Mando, "We don't serve your kind here." That would be hilarious.
You got to think they're going to say that. Like, how can you not have a bar scene with all these droids in there and not say that line?
What was I was trying to find what I was saying to you guys.
Also, somebody thought the R4 unit was Chomper.
Yeah,
that was you. That was Adam, right? It was Adam thought that.
But I think it's R5.
Yeah,
it's R5. They have the black kind of R2 unit kind of deal that was in the comics. You have the battle droids up here. This thing back here. You remember him from
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi. Yeah.
He was in Jabba's kind of. Well, he was also in the Jawas.
Yes.
He's all bouncing around the background. Yeah, Sandcrawler. Thank you.
And then you have this guy here who was in Jabba's palace, that kind of droid.
Oh yes, that's about like.
He might be the one.
Yeah,
he might be the one that says that. What do I say? See, this was my theory about that. So I said to you guys, if the Mandalorian continues after this season, my theory is that it will be called Mandalore. They'll kind of do a shift on the series, especially if Pedro is done after season 3, right? Because he's doing well with that other series. I forget the name of it, like the zombie one or whatever it is.
Oh, that just started. Yeah, it just got released.
Yeah. Be done for season 3. Mando will be killed, maybe. Either way, it'll be an easy way for them to transition, unless Mando unless he continues. And I'm just thinking, at a certain point, right? If you have a speaking of Grogu, a very powerful Force user, right? If you look at him here, and he's knocking aliens around like without any problem, it makes you think like he's kind of a powerful Jedi, and we've already seen him kind of being a little dark side in season 2. Like I thought he was kind of using his power, like choking and stuff. And I wonder if that'll be a way for them to say, look, at a certain point, maybe he's losing control and he needs guidance, and maybe he'll go to Ahsoka. They'll move him over to the Ahsoka series, or Luke will show up again. It might not be as dramatic as he picks him up and takes him, and he trains his.
Those are a lot of theories. Well, I don't think they can get rid of Mando. I think they would do everything they possibly can, like have a different actor and just get Pedro to keep voicing him. He brought back the Star Wars universe so that people like Star Wars again. I don't
Right.
think they're going to get rid of him so quickly, and especially if they're trying to build a multiverse, a multi-universe, and move towards a cinematic. I don't think you can get rid of your key piece, right? But I hear what you're saying though.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
that does kind of I see that, but again, there's the R5. That's a R4 unit,
That's
isn't it?
R5.
R5.
It's hers. Remember from last season, she was
Yes,
like
yeah,
it is R5.
R5,
And I don't know if you know about that that
R5D4.
comic.
Yeah.
I think I shared it with you guys, where it was just kind of a fun story that's not really canon, but it was that R5 was actually force sensitive, and when he was when he was being when he was bought by Uncle Owen, he realized that R2 had a destiny with C3PO to do all this stuff. So he made
Self.
his bad motivator, or he made his motivator blow so that they would take R2 instead.
Right. Yes, that's a theory.
The Jedi droid or something like that. It was
Yes.
just a short story in this comic I thought was funny. So
That's
it's very, very
hilarious.
cute.
It's
But the Naboo fighter, it's very cool. I'm down with the Naboo fighter, but man, I loved his Razor Crest, and he needs you know, he I don't think it doesn't seem like he's going to be doing jobs like bounty hunting anymore. Obviously, this
no.
season he's going to be focused to go to Mandalore and become a Mandalorian again. But I think he's going to get sidetracked. I think he's going to bring all the clans together. They're going to take back Mandalore, and maybe, like I said, maybe he dies and then someone takes over, or maybe he leads. And Kylo Jen won't be happy about this. The other theory is maybe Bo-Katan's going to be the villain in all this.
In the teaser trailer, there's that one shot where she goes to the window and looks through the window, and 'cause I watched trying to watch this one. I watched the teaser again last night. And
Yeah.
I know there's a shot of her looking out the window, looking all concerned, like. And quite frankly, those teaser fighters, the teasers of all of them fighting, doesn't show
Mhm.
her, does it? I don't see her.
I
When they
don't
do the drop ship.
know. And those are the Death Watch Mandos that were kind of, I think that's who they are. And yeah, maybe she might be the villain. I mean, who knows? Or she, he helps take it back, and then she, takes her place on the throne of Mandalore. And
So good.
yeah. So it's this kind of stuff. I know a lot of people are upset. Like I posted something and there's comments saying stuff like, "Oh, great! I can't wait to see babysitting in space again," and stuff like that. There's a lot of that.
There's always somebody out there who wants to make fun of something that's popular. You know what I'm saying? This is always haters be haters, right? They're just trolls, and they're just trying to dig up dirt, right?
And I can see that. Like I actually thought, and I've said this many times before, I thought that the ending of season 1 with Luke coming and taking Grogu and that whole, the music rising. Was it season 2? Yes, sorry, 2. Keep saying that. When Luke came and got Grogu and stuff, and the whole walk to the elevator and the elevator doors closing, the perfect scene and ending to Grogu's story until some other time, maybe. And I'm not. They could have had a cameo or something, like they run into each other, or Mando goes to the planet and realizes he has to leave him there, and blah blah blah, all that kind of stuff. It just seems so perfect instead of having him hanging out. I firmly believe that wasn't the plan. I thought that was the plan, but I'm sure some executive said, "Are you nuts? That's the only thing selling product right now is Baby Yoda, and he's gone." Nah. So then they're like, "Okay, we'll flip these 2 episodes into Book of Boba Fett. 2 episodes, 2 or 3 episodes.
Two. It was 2.
At least, okay, 2. And we'll fix it all. It'll be good for season 3." And they're like, "Okay, good." So, and then you could buy more Baby Yoda stuff.
But that might have been something. I would think I would like to think that they were more control of that storyline than being greedy profit seeking people. But it is a capitalist environment, so who knows?
You are right. Businesses don't like money.
Well, I know, I know, like forever, like back in the '90s when they're making like superhero movies, like they're making like that's what the last Batman and Robin was so bad because they were working so hard. Well, how would we make a toy to this? Has to be into a toy. We have to be able to do stuff so we can make into toys. You know what I'm saying? So it
Right.
didn't care about the story. It had to make stuff that just so you can work into toys. Right, and it's a stupid way of thinking things because it almost ruined that franchise, right? Well, actually, it did
Mm.
ruin the franchise. They had to reboot it, right? So again, doing things right is important, you know. So
Yes, yes. But I mean, it's all good, and I kind of like the whole Grogu is. Well, Grogu is, I think, the main reason that Mando became human. It
yes,
humanized him. It gave him a purpose that wasn't
yes.
just bounty hunting, killing, doing whatever. Right?
Well,
It made
see,
it good.
I think that what they did was brilliant because making Grogu a baby Yoda, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
species was ingenious because no one's ever seen a Yoda before except for Yoda. And so you see
Yoda.
that, like, that just going to, like, what? Like, everybody had that reaction when you saw that little baby, like, what? Like, you know, it's a baby Yoda. Like, and so it could have been any other baby in the world and it probably wouldn't have the same effect as it does now.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like, you know, because up until Grogu, the next cutest thing in the Star Wars universe is what's behind you, Wicket. Right? Wicket was the cutest thing in the Star Wars universe before Grogu came along.
Yeah, I mean, look at this guy. This is
Yes, look at the detail on it. The faces, the teeth, it looks so good.
so.
I love how the eyes
Now
are big and
a
shiny.
bowl sits here, and I put Halloween candy in there, and I have a stormtrooper, a Darth Vader. I think I had a fourth one.
The kids don't
I
take
forget
it?
what it is.
Nice.
Well, I mean, I don't stick it outside.
Oh,
I have it kind of in the doorway, and kids are like, "Oh, look," and stuff like
I
that.
gotcha. Yeah,
I
yeah.
wouldn't, because I would tackle and destroy them.
I know. Yeah, I know how much Ewoks mean to you.
So, yeah, I thought that was. My wife said he looks ugly. He looks weird. She's like, "Look at his creepy eyes and his buck teeth." That's what she said. I'm quoting. So send mean emails to Wookie Steve's wife at Star Wars
Wow.
Reporter.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's me. But, you know, she's not as cool as us. She doesn't understand.
Well,
She doesn't understand.
it's hard, right? That's hard.
So-
Our lovely ladies are wonderful people, and we cherish them much. But, you know, doesn't mean they have a good sense of what's cute or not, right? So
Well, clearly they don't.
clearly they don't.
Suckers. Okay, so looking forward to The Mandalorian season 3, March 1st.
So it's interesting.
Coming
So it looks. So that sounds like my guess is that Bad Batch and Mando will be overlapping. Will it
Yeah,
not?
when do they? I think
Because there's what 12 episodes of Bad Batch, isn't there?
Yes.
We're on
they might
episode
be.
4, so we're looking at probably. Well, I'm assuming it's gonna be 12 episodes, like it was the first season, right? So we're going
Yeah.
down 4, so we still have. Oh, my mouth is terrible. 8 more weeks. 8 more weeks is 2 months. So I imagine 2 months are gonna
Well, it's
crisscross each
12.
other.
They might hit. Oh, maybe. So March 1st is a Wednesday. So would the Bad Batch not be ending as
Well,
they're starting?
Well, it's just weird. I've never seen them have 2 Star Wars stuff going simultaneously. There's always been one would end, unless they're going to do a
Right.
little bit of Bad Batch, do a Mandalorian, bringing back the rest of the episodes of Bad Batch. You know, like maybe like you know, saying they're going to do season 2, but they'll do half the episodes now, then they'll wait till after Mando. Then, so
Right, because the Bad Batch 1 and 2 were in the same day,
yes,
right? 1 and 2, and then so I think the Bad Batch must end before season 3.
But how could it? If there has to be less than 12 episodes, right?
Mhm.
I'm going to try and while we're waiting, I'll try and see. Yes.
So speaking of the Bad Batch, where are you? So let's talk about the Bad Batch episode 4. And it's kind of funny. It makes more sense now after they might as well have called it Fast and the Furious, but I guess they can't. So just faster, which is
Just
kind of
faster.
I call it the racing episode. So I guess we're getting kind of ahead of ourselves, but I thought this was a very simple and fun episode.
Yeah, I was really excited how the episode started. Then it was like basically pod racing, and I became a little bit disappointed. Not that to me it was probably my least favorite Bad Batch episode of all the seasons so far. Not saying it wasn't fun.
Right.
Not saying it wasn't fun. I just thought it just had everything was too similar to the pod race, how they're betting and we're double. You know what I'm saying? I just thought I've seen the story so many times. I felt like,
Yeah.
so that's my only problem I had. Just because it's just that kind of it felt like a filler, but it did have some character development in the story, which happened later on
Right.
in the episode.
Right.
But again, nice to see Tech more and see him.
The other guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We see Wrecker before. Wrecker is a minor character. There's more Tech this episode, right? So
More, yeah.
we've seen Echo a couple episodes, the first two episodes with Omega. Here we had a chance to see Tech really come out of the shell a bit more, right? Sort of thing, and which is great. Again, that's really, really good. It adds more to the character, but again, the overall storyline was fine. Just
Yeah, and basically what it is Sid needs some help from the Bad Batch. They're actually there. She needs kind of muscle, and it's Omega, Tech, and Wrecker, and it looks like Hunter and Echo are off somewhere doing something. Which it kind of seems to me that the two kind of the brains of the unit would be Hunter and Echo, it seems. And I kind of got that impression with the conversation Echo and Hunter had, where Echo was like, well, we got to do something. We can't go hide, right? We talked about this before.
Yeah.
When they're trying to do the heist, and Hunter just is like, oh, we get this money and then we can give Omega a good life and stuff. But Echo, was the two of them kind of talking. But so in basically Sid, I always say Sid tricks. So Sid basically tricks them to be her hired guns while she goes to Safatoma, which is a kind of a planet with racing, because she's got this kind of a cool speeder that races and she needs help. So, and then that's where things kind of go crazy. So, and I love the opening scene too. This just brings me back.
Yes, I know, right?
Omega. So that's what happens, right? So Sid tricks the B group into helping her go to Safatoma. So I just love all these scenes.
I know, right? Like they really paint the picture. But I'm watching the episode, and especially after it ends, I'm going, why did Sid have to be there? You know what I'm saying? She didn't go there for any reason. Except for the guy was racing. The guy races all the time anyway. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I don't know why she had to. Why did she have to go? Because there wasn't already a bet in place. She went there and after meeting this obviously this bad dude, big bad dude, and they made a bet sort of thing. But they didn't have to make a bet. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that guy. He was cool. Yeah, he looks a little bit of Thanos, right? I recognize his voice. But I couldn't picture who it was. But
it is Ernie Hudson.
That's who it was. Thank you, Ernie Hudson from the Ghostbusters or the Crow. Yes, that's his voice. I know I know this voice. I just couldn't piece it together. I love the fact he had a Gamorrean guard too. Gamorrean guard with him.
Love it. Yes, he was. He was really. Where is he?
He's there. The little short guy.
Short he is.
And look at him. Look at the weight on him, right? That's how Gamorreans are supposed to look. Not like those skinny ones from Jabba's palace.
I know. They need to
feed him enough. Yeah, exactly. That's what Gamorreans are supposed to look like.
And this guy was way bigger than Wrecker. I was trying to find a picture of them together, but Wrecker was looking way up at him.
Yeah, I was hoping they'd get into a little bit of a tussle. I really was, but that's what I thought. I thought he was a really strong character in the episode. I really thought he painted another side of Sid, which we've talked about before in the past about Sid. There's got to be more to Sid than what we're seeing. and I think that he really planted a seed for us, the viewers, saying, you guys really went to bat for her, but it's a good chance that she's not going to
Yeah, he's
give
telling him
back,
that
right?
here. Yeah.
And that's the one part I really like the episode where now it's giving us something more, it's building a character. Like, everything else is like, okay, if it didn't happen, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't, whatever happened didn't affect the storyline, except for the fact that these guys are backing up Sid. Will Sid do the same thing? Like, there's a big reward for these guys. Will Sid go for the cash?
Yeah, and he's telling her that, like, I kind of like this character where even when they had won the race in the double or nothing bet, the racer was going to take a shot at them as they were leaving. He's like, no, it's like, it's all fair. It's because I think it's just part of the game for this gangster, whatever he is. And he was just like, you'll see the real Sid soon. But this is animated Disney. We're probably going to see Sid do something bad and then redeem herself and stuff like that, like betray them in some way. And it's going to be, I think it's going to be over money or the Empire, because she's already said the Empire will eventually get to me and my business. And when they do, she's going to sell them out easily. Like, there are these missing clones I bet you're looking for. And then she's going to feel bad about it and then help them in some way and stuff like that. So,
or they're setting up for you to think that, and then she'll turn around and she'll do something. She'll make a sacrifice play, maybe that's going to help them get away. One or the other, those two options are going to happen, right? Maybe she's going to call the Empire to come in, and then she'll change her mind as it goes along. Who knows?
Right.
But,
so what did what I wish? I wish that whenever they hit a planet like this, when they open the scene with a planet or whatever, that they do what they do in Andor or Rogue One. They have a title, like, we're on, this is the planet, or this is the facility, or you know what I mean? It would help. Right away what it is. It's just my thing, because I'm too lazy to like wait for it or put the CC on it so I can see what what it says.
Yeah.
And the racing I thought was really cool. Again, it's kind of the whole old school, like pod racing, like George Lucas was into the car racing. He loves speed, just like the speeder bikes in Return of the Jedi, the trench run, even the snow speeders, right? It was all the speed that he loved. And this just fits into, his universe, the racing, the really cool, what would you call that? Like the Blade Runner kind of feel and look.
Yeah.
And they actually call it riot racing because they actually like shoot at each other and they like combat each other, not like pod racing, which, well, I mean, you weren't supposed to, you just bump into each other, whatever. But I thought it was really cool. Like the track, it just looks like pod racing, but it's not.
Yeah, that's one thing I really liked about this. Like, again, the pod racing stuff's never been my favorite thing about Star Wars, but that's what I was going, okay, it's just pod racing. They're, storyline, whatever, it's very similar. But the nice, interesting thing was there's offensive weapons on these things, offensive and defensive weapons that one could use. Now that was a nice little touch to it for sure.
So, what did you think of? If I got a good picture of him here, geez, they're not loading. Teo.
I recognize his voice too. Do you know who voiced that guy? I recognize that voice too.
Adam wrote a nice review of the episode that's going to go up tomorrow, and I had it written down. Ben Schwartz.
Ben Schwartz. I definitely recognize the voice. I have to see what he's done before, but the voice is very, very familiar. But he was very entertaining, though. A very entertaining character.
Ben Schwartz, with his trademark attitude from shows like Parks and Rec.
Yes, he did Sonic the
Hedgehog.
Yes, that's his name. That's who he is.
Right.
That's definitely his voice.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have to check out. I'm looking at Adam's review now. It's really good. It's really set up. I like. If you go to StarWarsReporter.com tomorrow, it'll be going. I like to give people like a day or two to kind of watch the episode, not send me nasty messages and comments like, "Oh, you're spoiling it and haven't watched. I'm not gonna be able to watch it for a week." Well, it's like,
kind of on you.
Too bad. Yeah. Why would you go to an article that says review of this episode and get mad about it? But that's just the internet.
Exactly. No, I love you look at Tech's outfit, his armor. I love the paint. The paint looks like it's just been painted on and it's kind of wearing away. See the detail in his helmet, how it's not a solid line, right? It's just kind of wearing away over time. I just love that detail in those things.
Mileage, right? From all the
Yeah,
stuff they
exactly.
do.
And it looks like it's more wear and tear from the first season. They've added more wear and tear to the outfits for the second season. I just little details, which you would never see back in the original Clone Wars, right? Like you
Right.
see the damage, you see there's those small things that make it more believable and stuff like that, right? And I love that detail.
Yeah. So in the episode 2, we find out Sid's full name, Sidarin Scaleback. So the last name Scaleback is a total throwback to OT type Star Wars, right? Like 70s, 80s Star Wars, where you'd have someone's last name as Scaleback. It's kind of funny, right?
Because she's a lizard, right? So it has to be Scaleback,
Scaleback.
right? She's got scales on her back.
Yeah, which I thought was, and I meant to look this up, that the announcer for the race sounded so familiar. It's Jonathan Lippo, and I'm just wondering if he was the announcer from the pod racing, from the prequels.
I don't think so.
Right.
That was Greg Poops. That did the pod racing. He's on whose line is it? He was on whose line?
That's right.
Whose line is it anyway?
He was with the glasses.
Exactly. Yes.
And I thought that was funny when they first saw the racing, and the two vehicles bump into each other, and the one's blasters shoot, and the audience like, whoa, and then they look behind.
They shot the guy in the stands. He falls down dead. And the warning: remember, viewers, audience, blaster fire can come into like they do it.
So funny.
Because they do the hockey watch, audience pay attention, watch for the glass. What even they're paying attention. What could they do? You know what I'm saying?
I know, and I thought that was so funny. First thing I thought to myself was, they don't have a screen. There's nothing to protect them. I thought it was funny, and it wasn't like that typical animation. It's like, oh, he singed his shoulders. He shot right in the heart,
and he died. He fell down. But the Bad Batch stuns clone troopers, but we can kill somebody in the audience. You know what I'm saying? Stop stunning Bad Batch.
Hey, they knew what they were getting into.
But I love the fact that they make that announcement afterwards. The crowd wasn't even phased. Like, yeah, they went back to the game. They're not worried about the dude who just died. They're not sending medical help. They're just like,
I know, they all look, and then they go back to cheering and carrying on watching the. That's what I kind of liked about these races, or like the sports that they do.
Because they're barbaric.
And I love the kind of racing. It reminded me of, and I said this to you. Did I say this in the chat? It kind of reminded me of the Droids cartoon from the 80s.
Yes.
And there was, let me see if I can find it. There was this kind of an arcing story, like in Star Wars Droids. They had where C-3PO and R2-D2 were kind of, it was supposed to be before they were in Hope.
The Rebels,
and
right?
They were held by different owners and blah blah blah, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was before A New Hope, and so there was a series in the 80s, and there was a bunch of stories called The White Witch, right? So they're with these two guys that are like, one's a mechanic, one's the speeder racer, and their racer is called the White Witch, and they're trying to become like, get the car to win, or the speeder, so that they can, sell off these speeders and like sell them like race cars and stuff like that. And it was really cool, which was really cool, because then also the one character in this, the female character, was that one you saw of like, looked like Rey from episode 7, where she had the thing on. But anyways, so the ship was called, and that was the whole thing. They would go to different places and race, and then they were running into gangsters. I don't think it's even here, but people should look that up. It's on Disney Plus right now. Star Wars Droids.
Episode 1 too. It's actually episode 1. I remember I watched that one just to get a feel for it again. It's like, oh yeah.
Yes. But I think they get there's a few episodes with these guys, and then they, end up going their own way, and then R2 and C-3PO get hooked up with new owners, and then so forth. I think they get 2 more owners or something, or maybe another one. He's like he like travels around trying to find like minerals and like a miner and stuff like this. It's really interesting how they do it, and it's kind of kiddie at times, but the stories are so good. There's even one episode called something with Kylo Ren, the pirate Kylo Ren, like exactly the name they took for, because JJ didn't
Really?
do any research. Yeah, there's an episode called the pirate Kylo Ren. So, and even this episode, the look of this person, I wish the picture was in this.
Yeah, I remember we did that. We
So-
were discussing before you were showing that when they first released the retro stuff on Disney Plus. We're talking about that. Yeah, that's it's uncanny, right? 'Cause very very similar for sure.
And the one part I didn't get, like at the very final race where Teo gets smashed up twice. He gets smashed up, they fix him, and he gets smashed up again before the race. And I thought for sure,
Oops.
this is what I thought my prediction was, that Omega was going to jump in the seat, and that she was going to be like Anakin because she's going to be a Jedi, blah, 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 right? And I was literally shocked that they put in Tech,
Well,
the backup guys again in an episode. And
I-
when they were
I-
introducing everyone, I thought was so funny, right? I meant to
Yeah.
get all the different ones. They had funny, funky names.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
Tech.
Tech. And everybody goes, the
That's it.
whole room drops, right? You hear crickets in the background.
And you can hear the commentator like, Tech, that's it? Like he's
That's it?
talking to someone in the room,
Yeah.
like, that's it, Tech? There's nothing else?
He's talking to the script guy.
Yeah.
What else? Tech
do I-
what? Like, you know what? Well, I knew it wasn't going to be Omega just because the simple fact that Tech was trying to give pointers to the droid. I can't remember
Right.
the droid's name. And so I went, okay, well, it's
Teo,
definitely be Tech. Teo, thank you. Because he was analyzing the track sort of thing. So I knew it would be Tech. Although I must say I did at first because it was Omega kind of talking, I thought for sure, I thought, oh, maybe she's going to jump in and you'll show her force sensitivity sort of thing. But I'm glad we went with Tech. Give us a chance to really
Yes.
see Tech more in action and just
So an experience doing it.
it's hard
I
because
am-
he doesn't have a strong personality. You know what I'm saying? He's a tech geek. He's like, he loves all the DVDs and the Blu-rays and what I'm saying, all that kind of tech stuff, right? So it's hard to get a strong. It just wouldn't make sense for him to be a strong, compassionate type character. It's not his characteristics, right? But it's nice to see him do something more and just be that kind of
I
guy who
know.
flies a ship.
And I did like that, right? The guy in the background finally gets his due, right? He does the race. He does some cool stuff, and he ends up winning a race. And they're all like chanting his name. Now everyone knows his name.
Yeah.
So I just thought that was very nice. And he seems just kind of like a robot himself. Like he kind of gives barely a acknowledgement. And I think it's because all the batch, they're getting used to being like normal people because they're clones. They had all these missions. It's programmed into their DNA what they do. Now they're just having to live like, well, mercenaries sort of, but just like normal people. So this is weird. Like people are cheering for me.
And they don't have they don't have somebody giving them orders, right?
Yeah.
So that's another thing too. So they're not following older orders. They're not soldiers. They have a opportunity to think for themselves, right? Which we discovered the first two episodes, how they're thinking about Omega, right? Because before they wouldn't have even thought that before, but now they're thinking about more than just the mission and just more about themselves. It's like, okay, I care about this girl. Like, which they probably didn't have that before, right? So they're growing as people and specimens, and so it's kind of interesting. Again, it was. I also like the fact that I half expected them to have a big fight, but again, they didn't. It was resolved peacefully, like you're saying. Because the big bad guy goes like, no, right? So again, it just showed it was an episode without a lot of pew pew. There's no punching, but it didn't need it. It actually showed how they could peacefully resolve something and move on, right? So that again, not my favorite episode. Again, it's something too much of it felt rehashed, but there's some moments in the show which I still thought was really, really good. I like the whole Sid character part, how this guy's planting a seed that, you know what, Sid might not be what you think she is, or it might not be something you can trust, like you trust her. That's an interesting scene, and we all thought that 'cause we've been talking about it last year.
Yeah.
But now it's like, okay, somebody who knows Sid is now saying this, that it's now planting a seed for something possibly come up for a big, huge story arc.
Which is very interesting to me, right? It's like it just needs some, some double cross, some betraying, something to make it go, "Ooh, really?
Something,
They
yeah,
did
something
that?"
that's not like it's not a kid story. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That'd be really interesting. Like, look at Andor. Andor had so many different characters. You're not yes, Andor's the main character, but there's so many other side stuff happening.
Yeah.
So many other characters. There's no reason why Bad Batch can't do this too. Let's find out more about Sid. Let's have her, instead of just saying, "Here's a mission, go." Like remember G-Force back in the day. We watched Battle of Planets. Remember the robot, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
All he did was send him on missions, right? He didn't actually do anything. It'd be nice to make sure that Sid's not that kind of robot. That she actually has an impact in the story. Let's
Right.
make her into a real character that has some type of meaning instead of just send him on the next mission, because that gets redundant, gets boring, and predictable, right? So let's keep it fresh.
Right.
Let's keep it going.
Well, that's her whole role, is to give them things to do, so
Yes.
to create the story. And just like that, what was his name? The robot in Battle of the Planets. He wasn't in the original when it was the Japanese, but when Turner brought it over and put it on the
Americanized
air,
it. Yeah.
Americanized it, but people didn't understand what was going on because it's so wacky. So the robot was there to explain to us, because we watch it after school every day, what the heck was going on. But because if you watch it, I have a friend who had probably still has the whole series, the original from Japan, and like if you didn't already know what was going on and you're a kid just trying to watch this, you'd have no idea what's going on. And it's very different. There was a lot of stuff that they cut out of that show, man.
Well, I know. Well, actually, I have
Do
the whole
you?
DVD collection. I got it from somebody with I knew, was a volunteer with our film society. He unfortunately passed away, and he had a huge movie collection. And so
Wow.
I was able to get those from his collection. And yeah, it's just like, because
It's awesome.
everything in the original version of it happens on Earth, but in the American version, they all fly to different planets because Star Wars is so popular. They're trying to make it so you have to go off world. So in those episodes, each episode, the G-Force team flew to a different planet, even though everything looked like Earth.
Yeah.
They flew to different in the TV show, but in reality, the real series, they never left.
Yeah.
Earth. And yeah, it's much more graphic and let's say maybe possibly violent.
Yeah. It was a little different. So
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Like I say, traditionally with the animation, it's like the first season might be a little light, and then by second season they kind of take off. Like even looking at Rebels, it took off.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. And Rebels had so many different characters, and there was twists and turns, and there was consequences. There was, like a lot of people didn't make it through Rebels, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that they're going to say, even you look at the Clone Wars, first season is the first season, but as it gets along, there's much more complex storylines. There's much more. So I'm hoping that this second season, like you're saying, that we see more Sid, and Sid develops more character, and we can just find out more and just have more, shenanigans. I like shenanigans,
right.
and unexpected storylines, right?
Right. The other thing I'll just say that I like why the racing I kind of like, it brings me back to the days of, I can see it from here, the very first Star Wars role-playing game. It was the D6 system that we got. And this is when Return of the Jedi was over and there was no Star Wars. And I remember Jan.
Yeah, I remember Jan. Yeah, I remember Jan. Yeah.
It's like,
great
they
artist.
had this Star Wars game. And he went and he had bought it, and then I got a copy of it as well. And we would play this game. And I remember there was a series of games where we started doing where it's like in the ship, being part of the rebellion, and we were, go and race these swoop bikes, because there were swoop bikes in the book. Like they're kind of like the speeder Harleys and stuff like that, which Lum Runner Wayne, was the one that fleshed that out for Lucasfilm for that game, which was really cool. So And I think he got to work with indirectly or something kind of directly with Pablo Hidalgo, who also worked on that game. Apparently, or they got access to all this information. Like basically, Lucasfilm just opened up their vaults because there's so many. If you look at the books, there's like schematics and all these different things that were never released. And it was just them putting it in the book, and they have like propaganda posters like join the Empire, and it's so cool. But it just reminds me of that where we would race swoop bikes while trying to do rebel stuff, like 12-year-olds who are like, just dumb
Yeah,
stuff.
of course.
But I like that whole thing of traveling with our big ship, like the Han Solo ship, YT space transport or whatever, and go to different places. And it was a lot of fun. It brings me back to that too, why it was so fun. It was like we almost had that George Lucas bug in us for racing and speed, but
yeah,
it was very cool.
I think many times as a young teenager, that my bicycle I was riding around on became a speeder bike, possibly, especially riding through the woods, trails in the woods, possibly.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Possibly. I might have made
everything
sound
for us.
Might have made sound effects, possibly.
Did you attack any Ewoks or smash into any trees? Did you smash into any trees accidentally?
No. I was a good speeder pilot. So interesting story. You brought up Jan. Jan from our high school days.
Yeah.
I actually have. In high school you have your duotangs, right? Not duotangs. You have your binders. You put your papers in your notes for class. I have a binder that Jan one day drew the whole cover. He made a big, huge montage, or what do they call it? A mural on my duotang. No, duotang. My binder book. I still have it in my closet.
You still have that? You're kidding.
You wait one second. I'll show it to you. It's amazing, and I still have it from he probably did it when I was in grade 10 or grade 11, which was back in 1988. I still have it. Can I show it to you?
Wow,
It's really cool.
Of course.
You Phil. Yeah, it's right behind Spider-Man here somewhere.
Okay.
I'm sure it's still there. Give me a second. I'm almost there. Oh, the camera's falling. Come on.
I like where this is going. All right, so it's time for.
That's right. I found it now. So again, Jan, we both went to high school with him. Remember?
Yeah.
He was a fantastic artist. So this is a duotang from, let's see what class it was. Looks like it was English. Yes, it was English. So here's my notes from my English class. It's my journal. It's my journal book. So it's like.
Oh right.
So we do journal books. So that's a whole journal book. It's an English class, and he drew on the cover of my binder.
Oh yeah. When we played role-playing games, we made characters. Jan would always draw the characters for us. Like, oh, do this, do that, and he would draw it for us, and it was very cool.
I was a big, huge, as you knew, Steve. I was a big, huge horror fan, right?
Man, look at that.
So he did. This is what he did in one class. He just drew on it and he gave it back to me. And that's what I had. I've kept it ever since because how cool is that?
That is wild.
And here's my drawing. I drew this. Not the same.
It's Jason. Nice severed head. I like that.
Now that was a rush job, but Jan was amazing. This is a rush job. Look how good that is.
So I'm glad you were distracting him from his work, Todd.
Well, I just got. I can't remember his last name. I don't remember what his last name was, but he was a great guy.
So
well,
here is. Sorry.
Sorry, the year he signed it. It says 89.
Wow, you're old, bro.
I know.
So I found the role-playing game I was talking about. So this is, I think this is the second edition, but it's really cool. They have like, where are they? Do they have them in here? The propaganda posters. Like, here's an ad for tech.
Oh, look at that.
Like bio. Like
that's hilarious.
There's one here. It's like join the Empire, see the universe. Where is it? now more than ever, there's a place for you, right? So they have all these propaganda posters to join the empire. It's just very cool. So we would play this game, and there was they had like the Harleys, the motorcycles, and you had your characters and stuff. So it was just kind of fun.
I wish we never played those games together, Steve.
Yeah, you didn't do the whole nerdy RPG stuff with us.
I'm sure we talked one time. You came over to my house. We were going. You were talking me into making the Dungeons and Dragons. And I remember I had I had like the 12 or 20 sided dice, and I kept rolling. And my character, it was like 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, and you were laughing because my guy would die instantly in a real game.
It was so bad.
We did. I think one time we did go to Brian. Do you remember Brian Beeson? We went to Brian Beeson's house one time. We played one time.
Across your street, yeah. From you.
Yeah, so
across the street from you.
yeah. But it was when he moved down on Washington. He was in those gray apartment buildings. And I think I remember playing Dungeons and Dragons once. I'm pretty sure you would have to be the dungeon master because I didn't know anybody else who played except for you.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun though.
Yeah, it is a good time. It's kind of like not on computers or not on phone kind of fun, right? I mean, growing up, it was like, I think my oldest was like, how come you can do, because I can play a little bit sports here and there, and I just remember saying, like, she's like, how do you know that? Why can you play that? It's like, because I grew up without computers. When we had to do stuff, we had to go outside.
Yeah.
Right. So you went play sport. Like in our neighborhood, you go outside and be like, we should play a game of whatever. Yeah. You could find 10 people in the neighborhood. They were like, yeah, I'll play basketball, or I'll play soccer, or I'll play, like street hockey or baseball, or whatever. So simple. So
absolutely. Like I remember, like all the time. That's what you did all the time, right? Because there was no video games. like really, there's no home video games. So until Atari came along, right? And then I never got that.
Yeah, same here. So and that's the thing, right? So it's like, watching older TV shows. Like it's funny, my oldest daughter especially will get into like older TV shows because of the internet, like Netflix or
of course,
or Disney Plus and stuff. And I'll point out stuff in the episode. I'm like, oh, that's right, because there's no internet. So they had to go do this, or they had to go find a phone, or they had to, because there was no cell phones.
Yeah.
In the late 80s or whatever.
I was actually talking to my daughter the other day, like, you don't understand something like how the world's changed so much from me being your age till now. Like, just imagine what the world's gonna be like when she gets to my age. Like, it's just unbelievable how much stuff has happened. Like from, really, Stephen, when we were little kids, like the color TV was kind of relatively new. You know what I'm saying? Like,
because they were still black and white TVs.
There was
still,
you could still buy black and white TVs in the store when I was young.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's just like, just how much has changed. Now we can, we're doing this live. I'm talking to you. I can see you live, and we're across the country from each other.
Yeah.
Like that's just mind blowing, right? So
because if people moved away, they moved away.
Exactly, right.
Unless
and that's an amazing thing when we sit back and look at it, and you see how long, and think about how long would it take to make a Star Wars movie. Back in the day when they had to do the effects back in 1977, and they're pioneering. Like, it's just amazing how it can still stand up today and look so good. It's a testament to these people here, the forefathers, have pushing that boundary, pushing the envelope to create something like a world like Star Wars. And that we're talking about for like 50 years later.
I know, it's
45
wild.
years later.
It's wild to think that, right? It's like when the first Star Wars movie came out in theaters, we saw it.
Yeah, we saw it.
Went to a theater and watched it
in glorious mono sound. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The only way to watch
it was the greatest thing you saw. Like, I remember that experience of watching it on the screen, just like eyes so big, and just like. And just to think about it, here it is 45 years later, and we're still talking about it.
I know
this whole world that's been built, and just like, and again, it's something. It's not just like we're geeking out. It's just something that we shared together.
Mm.
And
Yep.
can continue to share together. And that's the whole thing about making things like this, is the fact that you want to share with people. It connects people, right?
Yeah.
If some people hate it, and that's fine. If you don't like Star Wars, no problem. You don't have to hate on it. I don't like. My daughter loves Supernatural. I think it's the worst show, like one of the worst shows ever made. But I don't beat her down on it. I say I just don't get what you like about it, right? And my wife likes Virgin River, and I'm watching going, oh, how do you watch the show? But she likes it. Fantastic. You know what I'm saying? So we all have our thing, So
But that said, sometimes shows my daughters or my wife watch, I do like to make fun of in my way until I get dad or shut up.
yeah, no, I used to do it too, but now I'm starting to come around going, okay, I won't make fun of my wife anymore, because then she's like, don't say anything. Well, no, I just want to sit with you. I want to sit down and watch your show, and I won't say a word. I'll sit there just because I want to be with you. So
The Supernatural guys, the one guy is like 6'2", and the other guy is like 6'5". I never knew that. They're like, at the time when the show was on the air, they were the tallest people on TV.
well, I thought one guy was like 5'8", the shorter
No,
guy.
he's 6'2".
Really?
The guy he's in.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, he's in
The
The
Boys,
Boys.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he played the bad
He's very
Captain America
tall.
guy. Yeah,
He's
I
6'2",
had no idea.
and the other guy is that much taller, right?
Really?
Yeah, he's very tall. It must be hard to get jobs, right? To be really tall, because especially when probably the average height in Hollywood's 5'9".
Well, you wouldn't be in a Stallone movie, that's for sure.
That's
Well,
very
yeah,
true.
I was watching it there. I was watching Hugh Jackman was on Stephen Colbert this last week and talking about how when he first became Wolverine, because Wolverine is a short character, like 5'6" or something,
He's very
right?
short, yeah.
And so, but Hugh Jackman's 6'2".
Yeah.
So apparently in the first movie, he did a lot of crouching down, and when they did conversation, other actors were on boxes. But by the second movie, they didn't worry about it anymore.
Got rid of that.
It was just too much work, right? So you're on a schedule, so that after the first movie, people bought in. So he's a little taller. Who cares? They stopped worrying about it, sort of thing. But
Yeah, can't wait. Yeah. So, so that was the Bad Batch. That was the trailer for The Mandalorian, and I'm really looking forward to The Mandalorian. Bad Batch. It's going to be either another kind of story episode, not fun story, or action.
well, I'm wondering if it's
How
going
it
to be
goes.
if we're going to see what Hunter and Echo are doing.
Yeah, that's right. Where are they?
Maybe we're going to see that. But who knows? Like, they don't have to do that. I'd rather see a story that we're going to let's move on. We had one little filler piece. Okay, let's move on.
Mhm.
Is a little reset after. Not that the episode 3 was a filler piece, because it wasn't, because it really showed Crosshairs. We had to see where Crosshairs was at, and I thought, like, after coming off that strong show to this one, like this next show, the episode 4 was already behind the black ball after episode 3, because episode 3, like we talked about, was one of the best Bad Batch episodes I saw.
Man, it was wild. It was really good.
So again, that's maybe why. I guess it was fun, but maybe that's why I was a little bit more cold towards it, because it just didn't progress the story. I was wanting to get into the story a bit more, right? So, but again, if something big's going to happen with Sid, you need this episode to make Sid a more of a key focal point. Because right now she's just been that,
here's the job. Here's the job.
She's Charlie from Charlie's Angels, right? On the thing, hey, Angels, here's your next mission, right? So now we've seen her more. We've found out more of her character. Maybe she's not trustworthy, so it's setting up something that's coming down the pipe. So that makes it worth it. So there you go.
I know, ugly angels, let me tell you. But all right. So with that, thanks for everyone who tuned in, all 1 million of you guys, and we hope to see you next time, where we'll be talking about other nerdy stuff. But make sure you go out and check us out on StarWarsReporter.com. You could find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So thank you again. May the force be with you guys. Do, 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 do.